as a former CIA officer, I have a lifetime secrecy agreement, an NDA, where I can't disclose operational details about my past. I can talk about lots of other things, but sources and methods about intelligence operations that I participated in is one of those no-go lists. To get that approved, I have to run it through CIA. So we wrote a manuscript. That manuscript has been with CIA. It has actually technically been approved by CIA. However, there were changes in the geopolitical landscape related to what we wrote about in our book that then CIA exercised their right to deny the book. So then we had to change some of the details to accommodate CIA's requirements, and then it's gone back in for another round of revisions. So we are hoping to have a book approved by CIA so that we can get it published on bookshelves by summer of 2025.
Wow.
But it was originally supposed to be released by summer of 2024 until CIA changed their mind. And it's really tied to the fact that my wife and I, our operations were so modern that the contents of the book is unlike anything anybody's ever seen before, and it makes CIA nervous.
It's a great pitch. Yeah, just spitting facts, guys. My book is full of amazing things no one's ever seen before. But are you going to be able to tell where you were deployed in the book?
Not in terms of specific countries.
Region?
Regionally,
yeah?
yes.
Yeah, because I mean, I have my suspicions, but I can't talk about that yet. So I'm sure they're in a huge rush to get this cleared.
Exactly.
They have nothing else going on.
That's why every 30 days we remind them that they had a 30-day timeline to approve the book.
We'll make the rules around here. Thank you very much. Yeah. You've got this cool, I guess, technique, for lack of a better word, which is 2 questions and 1 confirmation. And when you talked about this, it was so funny because I go, oh, I'm pretty sure that this is 1, how I have most conversations in my life with new people, and 2, almost how I conduct this exact podcast. Because if I just ask questions, I've seen hosts do that. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird vibe. It doesn't work well. And people go, Jordan, I like your show because it's a conversation. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm definitely controlling the questions. It's a question, and then I tell an anecdote or something like that. And I think it works really well. I mean, scoreboard, I suppose. But tell me about this, because I never really thought about it as a tactic that would make sense outside of this particular job.
Oh yeah, so
it does.
It absolutely makes sense, because what the tactic of 2 questions and a confirmation or a validation, what the tactic does is it builds an artificial relationship. It manufactures trust between 2 people, because it shows that one person's in control, but it also shows that the one person who's in control is actually interested enough that they're contributing, they're participating in the conversation, which makes the person answering questions feel like they're special, makes them feel like they're being listened to, it makes them feel heard, it makes them feel validated, right? And that is a natural human response to being in a community where you are valued and where you are an equal player. So this idea of ask a question, ask a relevant follow-up question, and then volunteer a congruent fact to validate the person is just a constant snowball that builds more and more momentum that makes the target feel comfortable.
I will sometimes retain journalists and be like, how can I improve my interview technique? And I did that in years past especially. And what's funny is they go, well, it did work when I listened to it. However, at ABC, we were trained to only ask questions. So when you do an interview with them, if they ever interview, we do like mock interviews, I'm just like, this is weird. You're just asking me questions. You're not adding to this at all. And occasionally on YouTube, someone will be like, I'm a journalist and I want to help you get better at this interview thing. And they're like, never talk about yourself. Never add anything. They're like, just stick to the questions. And it's always kind of funny to me because I'm thinking, this is like how to make your show exactly like anybody else and make yourself totally replaceable and uninteresting 101.
Yeah.
Like, it's never add anything.
Well, what's funny is like journalists don't realize that the medium of a podcast is not anything like journalism, right? That's you
can say that again.
Yeah, right? It's completely different. It's a whole different media platform, which is why podcasting is so popular and journalism is going the way of the dodo. Not to mention the fact that when a journalist interviews somebody, it's because they want the attention to be on the subject and they're trying to inform the public about the subject. With podcasting, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a relationship between the guest and the audience.
Yes.
And the host is just the conduit to represent the audience to the guest so that the guest always feels like they have a conversation or the audience always feels like they're having a conversation with the guest. That's the difference between the two platforms. And for me, it speaks to why podcasting is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I there's some nuance in here that isn't worth discussing, I think, but you're largely correct. By the way, I want to stick up for good journalism. I think it's one of the most important things in the world. There's a reason it's called the fifth estate or whatever. I think it's super important. But you're right, the journalistic sort of interview, there's a reason those things are 5, 10, 2 minutes, because that's as long as people want to hear somebody be grilled about, I don't know, their new music album or whatever. Right. You have to have a conversation if you want to keep people interested. That's just how it goes.
And I will always stand up for good journalism. Unfortunately, good journalism is getting harder and harder to find.
It is. I wanted to go back to one of your earlier points about creating relationships. I love the idea that this is, you said, effective at sales. My previous company, I sold probably tens of millions of dollars worth of services, essentially. But I had so much trouble hiring someone else to do the same thing. And part of it was because I was not good at all at training them on how to do this thing that we just discussed. I never really thought about it, even until recently, as question, follow-up question, maybe third follow-up question, and then a share or a confirmation, as you called it. So this is a high-ticket item I was selling. I mean, it was a large seminar. $6,000 to $8,000, and this is a decade and change ago, so that was real money. It is still real money. But I spent months just talking to people, and it would be like, oh, I got a check-in call with this person. Hey, man, how did that thing go that you were doing? Did you end up switching companies? Oh, man. Oh, did you break up with her? Oh, finally. She was driving you nuts. Okay, well, I got to run, man. Are you still thinking about summer of next year when you get your new job and you get your bonus? Cool. All right, well, I'll talk to you in a few months. No ask. Just like moving things along kind of one increment at a time. And then one day I would call and go, ready, man? Time to pull the trigger. And they go, here's $10,000. And then I remember people seeing those closing calls and going, how did you do that? Well, 18 months ago, I started this this freight train moving. Because it looks like magic if you just look at the last phone call. It's like you just called that person and they gave you $8,000, $10,000. How did that happen? But it was like making friends, having them tell me big problems they're having in life, and then being like, here's a solution that I will sell you for a reasonable cost relative to the scale of your problem.
Right. And
the end.
Correct. I mean, what sales should be that so few salespeople understand is sales is just a relationship. It's a relationship where you're trying to find the right balance of what we call rapport and leverage. Rapport is the back and forth exchange of things that are not sales related that build momentum for what feels like trust, right? And then once you have the rapport in place, you have built leverage. The leverage is what you need in order to get the person to take the action that you want. When you think about manipulation versus motivation, manipulative leverage is something everybody wants to avoid because it feels gross and it feels sticky.
Yeah.
Motivational leverage, people lean into. Like, we all love it when our close friend is like, dude, you need to get into the gym. We should start tomorrow. In fact, I bought you the first month at my gym. Yeah. Let's go work out in the morning together. We're like, hell yeah, let's go. That's motivational leverage.
Works better than, hey, you're so fat, no one's ever going to love you, right? That's not, that one of those is going to be more effective.
Yeah, or I bought you your first month and you owe me, right? Like, it's not the same thing. Yeah. So with what ends up happening is salespeople think that it's like this process of calls and getting enough information and like understanding the product details, like the features and benefits. They don't realize features and benefits don't equal purpose, right? The features and the benefits are there to complement the purpose of the sale altogether, right? I need a car. I don't really care if the car has all-weather tires and leather interior, right? I don't care that it comes with a warranty. What I care about is the purpose of the car, which is transportation that keeps my family safe and is healthy for the environment and can go a long distance on a small thing of gas, right? Whatever it might be.
This realization was so huge. This type of thing was so huge for me early in my sales career, because it was just like, I remember closing people and getting, processing their payment, and they would go, wait, what did I just buy? I don't even know. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're going to get this and this and this and this. And they're like, yeah, but what else? And I'm like, and you list the thing and you go, wait a minute. you just gave me all this money and you didn't even really know what it was. And I remember being kind of confused. And then I asked some of my sales mentors and they're like, no, that means that this person trusted you so much that it didn't even really matter.
Yeah.
They just knew that you weren't going to screw them over, that you had a solution to their problem. The details were just not even at the front of their mind. They had to call you back or email you to get the brochure that they never looked at. And you just start to realize, like, wow, this is kind of a superpower if you get good at it.
We call it, in the espionage world, we call it selling yourself. Like they sell themselves. And when you have a really good, well-developed, appropriate intelligence source, and you go to actually pitch them on this idea of espionage, they sell themselves. And you're like, hey, I think we have an opportunity here for your secrets to make a difference in your financial life and in the future of your country. And they're like, yeah, I thought I might have that opportunity. And I think as long as I work with you, I trust you, and I think I'm ready to do this thing. And then you're like, I didn't even make a pitch. I just said, I think you have an opportunity. And they're like, yeah, I'm ready to do this thing.
Does the CIA ever use like celebrities to get something out of folks? Because it seems like someone with massive status would, in some cases, do really well.
The problem is people with massive status are unpredictable.
Well, yeah.
How do you get them to keep
true.
a secret? How do you know who's watching them and who's not watching them? How long before they brag about whatever else? Like, the problem with celebrities is celebrities, to gain celebrity, and you know this too because you yourself are a celebrity. There's a certain element where you have,
what you did there.
But you have to value yourself. Whereas the best intelligence officers, they are sacrificial. They're like, the best thing I can do is die for my country. You don't think that at all. You don't think the best thing you can do is die for the United States. You're
Me
like,
right now?
Yeah,
No.
exactly. So that's why, like, when you want to train somebody to be a secret operative, a clandestine operative, you want them brainwashed, to use your term, in a way where they believe the best thing they can do is sacrifice.
Yeah, no, if they'd actually caught me at age 25, totally different
They would
story.
have had you, yep.
Yeah, no, honestly, before getting married plus kids, there was a chance. Not that they were trying by any means.
But once you're married with kids, once you see what it's like to have people who unconditionally love you, there's no way to, like, the service to your country never compares to service to the people you love.